Well, you know we live for that holy grail moment. The release of a camera that doesn't just iterate, but obliterates the status quo. We are currently standing on the precipice of a shift so massive it feels like the transition from DSLR to mirrorless all over again. Enter the Nikon Z6 IV. This isn't just a sequel, it's a statement. The rumors pouring in for 2026 suggest Nikon has stopped playing nice. If you thought the Z8 was the peak of Nikon's trickle-down technology, the Nikon Z6 IV is about to prove that the floodgates are officially open. Why? Let's find out. To understand why the Z6 IV is being hailed as the absolute camera, we have to be honest about the hurdles its predecessor faced. The Nikon Z6 III was, by all accounts, a fantastic hybrid machine, but it carried a few compromises that kept it from perfection. The most glaring issue for many was the jump in price to $2,500 without a corresponding leap in resolution. While the 24.5 megapixel partially stacked sensor was a speed demon, photographers in 2025 felt the pinch of being stuck at 24 megapixels. In an era where 33 megapixels is becoming the baseline for the competition, cropping in on a Z6 III felt more restrictive than it should for a premium mid-tier body. Then there was the dynamic range trade-off. That partially stacked design, while brilliant for video and burst rates, introduced a slight shadow noise penalty at base ISO that didn't sit well with landscape purists. Furthermore, the Z6 III's thermal management, while better than most, still hit walls during grueling 6K RAW sessions, and the EVF, though stunningly bright, consumed battery life at a rate that made spares a mandatory carry. We also heard the community's cries regarding the flippy screen versus the tilt screen debate. For video creators, it was a win, but for traditional stills, photographers, the lack of a 4-axis tilt like the Z8 made low-angle vertical shots a logistical headache. These weren't deal breakers, but they were the fine print in an otherwise stellar resume. This is where the story gets legendary. The Nikon Z6 IV is rumored to be the first mid-range body to benefit from the massive Red Digital Cinema acquisition. We aren't just talking about a few new LUTs. We are looking at a fundamental overhaul of color science and internal processing. The headline feature, a brand new 33.3 megapixel full-stacked CMOS sensor. This move effectively kills the resolution versus speed debate. By moving to 33 megapixels, Nikon provides that extra breathing room for cropping while maintaining the blistering readout speeds that eliminate rolling shutter, a ghost that has haunted the hybrid market for years. But the absolute nature of this camera comes from its brains. With the anticipated X-Speed 8 processor, the Z6 IV is expected to debut Human Intent AF. This isn't just standard subject tracking, it's predictive AI that understands the flow of a scene, prioritizing a bride's eyes through a crowded dance floor or a bird's flight path before it even clears the branch. On the video side, the Z6 IV is aiming for the throat of dedicated cinema lines. Imagine internal 6K open gate at 60p, and uncropped 4K at 120p, or with red-inspired skin tones that require zero post-production fixing. To solve the ergonomic divide, Nikon is reportedly testing a multi-flex hinge, a design that offers both a fully articulating flip for vloggers and a rugged tilt for still shooters. Add in dual CF Express Type B slots for the first time in this tier, and you have a camera that no longer feels like a compromise. With all this excitement, a dark cloud of ultimate fear hangs over the enthusiast community, the Z8 paradox. The fear is that if Nikon makes the Z6 IV too good, it will effectively cannibalize its own flagship sales. If you can get a 33 megapixel stacked sensor with 6K RAW and flagship autofocus for under $3,000, why would anyone buy a Z8? This leads to the concern of strategic crippling. We've seen it before. A manufacturer limits the buffer size, omits a dedicated AF on button, or throttles the thermal performance just to keep the more expensive models relevant. There is also the fear of the price creep. If the Z6 III pushed us to $2,500, could the Z6 IV land at $2,999? For the everyday photographer, that psychological barrier of $3,000 is a significant one. If the Z6 IV moves too far away from its mid-tier roots, it risks becoming a niche tool for the few rather than the absolute camera for the many. Lastly, there's the supply chain anxiety. In a world of global tech shortages, a camera this ambitious could face the same out-of-stock nightmare that plagued the Z9 launch, leaving fans with nothing but pre-order receipts and broken dreams. Nikon is currently undergoing a massive cultural and technical renaissance. While once viewed as a legacy brand playing catch-up, Nikon has pivoted to become a pioneer in hybrid and cinema technology. The 2024 acquisition of Red Digital Cinema has already borne fruit with the launch of the Nikon ZR, their first true digital cinema camera, which has seen explosive popularity among younger Gen Z and millennial creators. Financially, Nikon is prioritizing market volume and ecosystem growth over short-term margins. Despite facing global headwinds like tariffs and currency fluctuations, their imaging division remains a powerhouse, recently crossing the milestone of 50 Nikkor Z lenses. By trickling flagship Z9 features down into accessible bodies like the Z6 III and the new Z5 II, Nikon has successfully shed its old-school image, cementing its status as a hip, innovative leader for the next generation of visual storytellers. Despite the fears, the momentum behind the Nikon Z6 IV is undeniable. Nikon has spent the last 3 years transforming from an underdog into a pioneer, and the Z6 IV feels like the culmination of that journey. It is a camera designed for a new generation of creators, people who refuse to be put in a box as just a photographer or just a filmmaker. It's for the wedding shooter who needs to switch from a high-res portrait to a slow-motion cinematic clip in the blink of an eye. For years, the Z6 line has been the perfection of cameras, just right for everyone, but rarely the undisputed king of any single category. That era is over. They've looked at the landscape, analyzed the fierce competition from the Sony a7 IV and the Canon R6 Mark III, and decided to build an absolute beast that bridges the gap between enthusiast and elite professional. Is it the absolute camera? If the rumors of a 33-megapixel stacked sensor and red-powered color hold true, the answer is a resounding yes. It would represent the first time a manufacturer has truly delivered flagship performance in a body that a working professional can actually afford. We are keeping our eyes glued to the horizon for the official announcement, but one thing is certain. The competition is officially on notice. Nikon isn't just back in the game, they are trying to change the way the game is played. Stay tuned to our channel because the year of the absolute camera is finally upon us. Thanks for watching.